lifetime doing strategic planning for organizations.
It's letting me record
He said,
again.
we don't do that anymore.
Okay.
We do a yearly review because things are changing too fast to have anything that would be predicted that far away have any relevance when that time came. And so all we can ever do is take the step that we're on, but you take that step in faith. And I'll give you an affirmation here. The only presence active is love, and the only power active is good. Let's say that together. The only presence active is love, and the only power active is good. We're going to say that 2 more times. The only presence active is love, and the only power active is good. And so you take each step affirming that all there is love and good happening here, and your sacred covenant guides the process. The consciousness in that you will be accepting, you will be reading this every Sunday until your new minister shows up. And I'll tell you, the communities that work this and do it, there's a saying in the recovery movement, it works if you work it. And so if you work it, you will have a minister you love. I just spoke to a church a while ago. They did their co-creation process a long time ago, well over a year. You don't have to take that long. And a minister was texting with me or emailing with me, and she said, we read the Sacred Covenant every Sunday for that time. We became what we wanted to attract, and we love our new minister. So it's a powerful process. So taking one step at a time. Emma Curtis Hopkins is a teacher. She was the Ernest Holmes of Science of Mind was her last student, very mystical teacher. And she has an expression. She says, there's good for me and I ought to have it. So let's say that together. There's good for me and I ought to have it. 2 more times.
There's good for me and I ought to have
Now
it.
like you're really mean. Put your hand on your heart.
There's good for me and I ought to have it.
Now let's say there's good for CSL and we ought to have it.
There's good for CSL and we ought to have
2
it.
more times.
There's good for CSL and we ought to have it.
There's
Good for CSL and we ought to have it.
Yes?
Yes.
That's called working in consciousness. There's a wonderful poet by the name of David White, W-H-Y-T-E. Do any of you know him? Yeah, I love his work. And he came and spoke at one of our conventions, and he was talking about crossing the territory from where we are to where we want to be. And he said, whenever you want something, you want to manifest something, you want to get to some place, there's a part of you that's already standing in that place. That's already standing in the place of fulfillment. And it calls to the self that is here and says, walk this way. I love that. And I invite you to think about that, to stay in faith with the process and realize that up ahead there is a minister whom you love and who is the right one for this community at this time. And you may not be able to see the face, but just keep faith with it. And there's you standing there in a wonderful relationship with that minister. And so all you do from now and every day is just take a step in that direction and keep faith with the process. And it all turns out beautifully well. So that is all about honoring the mystery. Do not think that you can control this, but you can be open and available to the way in which Spirit wants to work through you to bring forth this wonderful result. This is how you co-create together as a community. So the second, or really the third invitation is, you know what, I forgot one invitation. The first invitation to you is come into agreement with this sacred covenant. Be willing to read it. You'll be reading it on Sundays, but be willing to read it at home. When I really want to embrace something, I put it by the place I do my meditation so that I read it there, and then I stick it up on my mirror in the bathroom because I know I'll be there a number of times a day. And so I read it there. Come into agreement, let your heart say yes. This sacred covenant is yours. If you want to change words, go ahead. If you want to add something that's not there or take something out, feel free, make it your own because you're still in the agreement of this person coming. So that's the first invitation. The second invitation is to honor the mystery. And here's the third one, to embrace the change. We like change, we just don't want it to be different, which means we need to open up and allow things to be different. And what this brings up is the contemplation of what kind of mind we actually bring to change. What kind of mind do you actually bring to change? So there's a very ancient parable that comes out of the Middle East primarily, but it comes out of several spiritual traditions. It's not just one. And it's called the parable of the sower, and some of you may know it. And the story is that a sower, you know what a sower is? A sower who sows seeds. Very old idea these days. So a sower went out to sow seeds. And some of the seeds that he sowed fell on the wayside of the road, and the birds of the air ate them. And some of the seeds fell on stony ground where there was a little bit of soil, so plants sprang up, but then the sun scorched them and they died. And some of the seeds fell on thorny ground where there was deep, rich soil, but as the plants sprang up, the thorns choked them off, and so they could not bear fruit. But some of the seeds fell on deep, rich soil, and the plants rooted, and they grew, and the fruit increased 10, 30, 60, 100-fold. That's the story. And so the soil stands for mind. What kind of mind do we have? And the wayside mind is a mind that is unresponsive, that is closed and fixed, and that will not let any kind of newness in. So that's the wayside mind. The stony or rocky mind is a mind that has a little bit of depth to it, but really doesn't let in anything new and is short on spiritual practice. So nothing can actually take root. The thorny mind is a mind that has deep, rich soil to it, but is still so filled with negativity of the past. Regrets, resentments, wounds, non-forgiveness. Take a breath, everybody. Non-forgiveness, that no matter what grows, it's choked, the plants are choked off. But the final soil represents a mind that is open, that is available, that is fresh, that is willing to receive a new seed and do what it needs to do to nurture it so that something can grow and expand. Of course, I want to encourage you to have an open mind that is available. There's another similar kind of story that comes out of the Zen tradition. I like to, Ernest Holmes was a great synthesizer, and I like to bring different things together too. Very, very well-known teaching story in the Zen tradition. And it is the story of a young student who went to the home of a Zen master because he wanted to learn Zen. And so he sat down with the master at a tea table, and the master began to make tea, which is an elaborate thing in that tradition. And as the master was making the tea, the student began to talk. And he talked, and he talked, and he talked, and he talked, and he kept on talking. And all the while, the master is calmly making the tea, and when the tea is ready and the student is still talking, the master began to pour the tea. You know how little those cups are. And so the cup filled, and the master kept pouring and pouring and pouring until finally the student leapt, the tea was coming over his lap, and the student leapt up and said, "It's too much, what are you doing?" And the master said, "How in the world do you think I can teach you anything when your mind is so full? You must first empty your cup." Does this make sense to you? And so I share this with you by way of saying that your new minister is a new seed that is looking for a place to be planted and to root and to be able to grow. It's a huge mystery that across time and space, there's a person who's going to come, well, several will come, and you'll choose one. A person will come to be your spiritual guide, the perfect unfoldment of his or her life, the perfect unfoldment of the life of this community. You will come together. It will be lovely. But it takes an openness and a willingness to have the seed planted. Well, that person, I'm not going to say that. Never mind. I'm not going there. So, to have an open willingness, well, now you want to know what I was going to say, right? Okay. I was going to say, well, you love everything that that person does. Maybe not, but you don't love everything you do either. Right? And so we're after a real person of human beingness that is who is spiritually divine, who is willing to stand as the opening for wholeness to flow not only into him or her, but into this community. And I understand that would be a powerful blessing for this entire community of St. George. A whole community standing in wholeness in present time, allowing Spirit to work through it for wonderful expression. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So here's the process going forward. You have a selection committee. Your selection committee will get a candidating packet. They will fill all of that out. They will include the Sacred Covenant. They will send it off to our home office in Golden, Colorado. All that information about your center will be posted on what's called the open pulpit for ministers of our organization. I read them all the time. I'm always checking in, so I'll see when yours comes up there. And ministers will begin to apply. They will feel moved by the consciousness in your Sacred Covenant. They will see how they feel. If they want to apply, they will. They will send a video and all of their information to home office, who will then send it to your search committee. Your search committee will get a number of those. They will vet them, and they will invite the people who resonate or are resonant with your Sacred Covenant to come for a weekend, to do a talk, to do a workshop, to have whatever meetings are necessary. And then after some time of reviewing the candidates, there will be a process by which a decision is made. So I don't want to speak to that because I don't know which way you're going to do it. So your job, so is that clear? Does that make sense to you? Again, it takes what it takes. Honor the mystery. It's wonderful. And enjoy the ride. That's another good phrase. So the process is the process. And your job, your assignment, should you choose to accept, is, because it's all by choice, right? Is to read your Sacred Covenant every day and say yes to it. And say yes in your heart. And allow yourself to start being the intentions that you have for your new minister, so that it's like attracting like attracting like. And in no time at all, that person will be coming your way. Be open soil. Be willing to let go of the past. You know, there's a saying that incomplete endings inhibit new beginnings. Let go of the past of this center, let go of the past of other spiritual organizations you've been involved in as much as you can, and just feel yourself arrive in this present moment, ready for something that is new and wonderful. In no time at all, a new person will be here. They're already standing at the end of the trajectory, asking you to walk that way in their direction. So all there is to do as you go through this awesome time is stay together, be together, work together, share honestly what's going on for you, keep coming back to the Sacred Covenant, and most of all, honor the mystery and embrace the change. Many blessings. So just letting all of those words settle. To let them settle into your heart. And just take a moment to feel within your heart center and ask yourself what your highest aspiration for an experience of your new minister is. If there is one thing that you would love to experience in a new minister, just state that to your heart right now. And now be willing to become that. And so I give thanks for this entire weekend, starting from Thursday night to right now. Every single moment of this process has been surrendered to Spirit, absolutely for the greatest good. I know that working through and as all things, Spirit has been in action. I honor all those who have participated, their willingness to give copious amounts of time and energy and commitment and sharing, doing all those dot processes. We'll be dreaming dots for a long time. Knowing absolutely that the work was good, that it was done in love on behalf of this beloved community. And what I know is that Centers for Spiritual Living St. George, it is a divine idea unfolding in time and space. That it has its beginning and its legacy, and it has this holy moment now. and it has its brilliant future coming into being. And so I know and accept that this center comes forward with all that is wanted and needed for full and joyful expression, and that the high intention of being a light, a place where people come in to learn about wholeness, the wholeness of their own being, and the wholeness of their life expression, that all of that is fulfilled step by step, day by day, moment by moment. It starts now. And a new minister comes in just to lead and guide and support the next unfoldment. So I know that all is well, that the only presence active is love, that the only power active is good, that there's good for CSL St. George, and we ought to have it. And so knowing that all of this is done, I release this word, and together we say, and so it is. Thank you very much. And now we're ready for Alan. Let's welcome him back.
Not too loud? Thank you, Dr. Kathy, Reverend, for coming up here and giving us a hand. We all love you very much.